Part 43. Three Kingdoms, I Have a Job Transfer Palace. Author, Strong Wine Burns the Heart. Chapter 421. After listening to this, Li Shimin said to Emperor Yang of Sui, "Your Majesty, we are outnumbered now." The two old generals, the patron king and Ding Yanping, not only lead a large number of troops, but also their own martial arts are very good strong. If we want to defend Wei County, we must rely on the help of the two of them, so the two of them must not make any mistakes. I request you to lead troops to strengthen the battlefield and rescue the two of them. Emperor Sui Yang naturally knew the decision Li Shimin made. It was very correct, so he was asked to take his troops to support him. So Li Shimin bid farewell to Emperor Sui Yang, and together with Li Yuanba and Li Ziyuning, led the army to the battlefield. When they arrived at the battlefield, they found that the patron king and the double-gun veteran Ding Yanping had already fought against the army of the 16th Route Army against the king. The two-gun veteran Ding Yanping is a super general, and Yang Lin is a peerless general in the early stage. With their own strength, the two of them still lead the army to attack left and right with great bravery, even if they are at a disadvantage in terms of strength. Li Shimin looked at the performance of the patron king and Ding Yanping and said to Li Ziyuning, "The patron king and Ding Yanping are worthy of being one of the 9 elders of the Sui dynasty. At such an old age, they still have strength far beyond ordinary people. I originally thought they were trapped in a tight siege. We want to lead the army to capture them, but looking at their performance at this time, even if we don't come, no one among the 16 anti-kings can capture them." Li Ziyuning also stared at the warriors fighting bravely on the battlefield. The two of them couldn't help but nod after hearing Li Shimin's words. I saw that many generals among the 16 anti-king armies saw the bravery of the two men and wanted to rush up to surround them and kill them. However, facing the encirclement of many enemy masters, neither Ding Yanping nor the backer king Yang Lin was afraid and fought with the two weapons in their hands. Ding Yanping's pair of green 4-pointed spears were invincible. Every time two horses crossed each other, they could stab one person under the horse. As for the backer king Yang Lin, he was even more unstoppable. The two fire and water prison dragon sticks were sure to knock someone off his horse every time he took action. Among the people who besieged him, there was not even a single general who could combine with him. While Li Shimin was still sighing at the bravery of the two veteran generals, a general riding a white horse suddenly rushed out from nowhere, wearing a silver helmet and armor, and rushed forward with a silver gun. Ding Yanping and the patron king Yang Lin only thought that the other party was just like those who came before, and was just a small role in the 18th Route rebel king, so they didn't care. In fact, not only the two of them didn't care, but even the various rebel kings, because they all came from different forces, didn't know who each of them had under them, and they didn't care about the general who rushed forward. And Ding Yanping himself is a master of marksmanship. A pair of double spears can restrain almost all marksmanship in the world, so he didn't care and rushed forward on his own initiative. Ding Yanping was seen holding 2 spears, and he stabbed the white-robed general with both his left and right hands. However, the white-robed general raised his long spear and deflected the 2 short spears. When the 2 sides passed by each other, Ding Yanping suddenly stabbed back with the tip of his spear. This was his unique skill. No one who had encountered this move could survive. However, the white-robed general was well prepared. As if he had eyes on his back, he turned his spear back to block the spears. Then he thrust out his spear and pierced Ding Yanping's throat. To read the ununderlined version of the novel, please download Fei Lu Xiao. Three Kingdoms, I Have a Job Transfer Palace. Author, Strong Wine Burns the Heart. Chapter 422. Seeing the white-robed general piercing his own spears with a long spear, and inserting the spearheads into his own throat, Ding Yanping couldn't believe it. As the white-robed military general pulled out his spear, blood flew out and Ding Yanping also fell off his horse, but his eyes were still wide open, and he refused to close his eyes. "Yang Lin, the patron king who was killing all the other generals on the side, was shocked and angry when he saw his old comrades and brothers being killed by an unknown general. I saw Yang Lin swiping the prison dragon stick with all his strength, forcing away the many generals who besieged him, and then riding his horse towards the white-robed general. After killing Ding Yanping, the white-robed general ignored others and rushed directly to Yang Lin. Come to kill. With Ding Yanping being beaten by the white-robed general in less than 2 rounds, Yang Lin also knew the opponent's strength and did not dare to underestimate his opponent, so he used all his strength as soon as he took action. The reason why Ding Yanping was instantly killed by Zhao Yun was not only because there was a huge gap between the two, but also because Ding Yanping underestimated the enemy. He knew that with the deaths of Xiang Qiahe, Wu Yunzhao, and Wu Tiangzi, only his adopted son Luo Cheng could pose a threat to him in the anti-king army. So when he saw that the opponent was just an unknown person with a gun as a weapon, he naturally thought that he could easily kill him, so he did not use all his strength. However, Yang Lin was different. He determined that although the opponent took advantage of Ding Yanping's lack of preparation to kill him, he must also have extremely strong force, so he used all his strength from the beginning. The 2 water and fire prison dragon sticks used one to defend and the other to attack violently. The 2 fought for more than 10 rounds in a short period of time, but they still couldn't decide the outcome. However, although the outcome was uncertain, everyone could see that Yang Lin, the backer king who had just made an unstoppable left charge, was at a disadvantage, while the white-robed general seemed to have exerted little effort at all. After more than a dozen rounds of fighting, everyone decided. The various rebel kings were originally troubled by the bravery of Ding Yanping and Yang Lin, and had been thinking about how to get rid of these 2 people. However, they did not expect that this white-robed general rushed out to kill Ding Yanping in 1 round, and now forced Yang Lin to a disadvantage. Everyone asked the other anti-kings around them about this person's origins and wanted to know whose subordinate he was, but no one could answer. Just when everyone was puzzled, they saw that the situation on the field had changed again. Yang Lin swung out his stick, and the white-robed general swiped his gun, blocking the dragon prisoner's stick, and then stabbed out like lightning. Because the speed of this attack was too fast, and Yang Lin had just blocked the attack with his stick, and before he had time to defend himself, everyone only saw that the patron king was stabbed into the chest by a gun. Feeling the severe pain in his chest, Yang Lin immediately grabbed the spear on his chest with both hands to prevent the other party from digging in or pulling it out again, causing secondary damage. Unexpectedly, the white-robed military general used his hands to lift Yang Lin up high, and then slammed him down. After his back fell to the ground and suffered a huge shock, Yang Lin uncontrollably let go of his hands holding the silver gun. The white-robed general did not hesitate when he saw this, and with a strong hand, he pierced the spear deeply into Yang Lin's heart. Yang Lin felt a sharp pain and knew that after all his life in the battlefield, the waves behind him in the Yangtze River pushed the waves ahead, and he was about to be killed by this young man. _Filu reminds you, 3 things about reading, collecting and recommending. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. 3 Kingdoms, I Have a Job Transfer Palace. Author, Strong Wine Burns the Heart. Chapter 423. However, before he died, Yang Lin struggled to ask, I don't know who this general is, and who he serves under. After Zhao Yun came to the world of Sui and Tang dynasties, in order to help Lu Feng wanted to conquer the country as soon as possible, so he specially found someone to introduce many characters and history in the world of Sui and Tang dynasties. Therefore, although he hated Emperor Yang of the Sui dynasty for his mediocrity, he had great respect for this patron king who had devoted his life to fighting for the Sui dynasty and made countless military exploits. After all, everything he did was for the entire Sui dynasty to develop in a better direction and to ensure that the stability of the Sui dynasty was not threatened. From this point of view, he is worthy of respect, and everything he did was the same as himself and all the generals of the Dragon Kingdom fighting the world in order to be loyal to Lu Feng and protect the Dragon Kingdom. Although all the generals of the Dragon Kingdom massacred foreigners, conquered Goguryeo, destroyed Japanese islands, and attacked empires such as Kushan and Rome, in their own opinion, they were doing it so that the people of the Han dynasty could live a good life and not be bullied by foreigners. But in the eyes of those foreign people, everything they did was no different from devils. They were invaders. They not only invaded their own country, but also massacred their own compatriots. However, in the eyes of all the generals of the Dragon Kingdom, everything they did was so just and so natural. This was just because the two sides stood from different perspectives. Originally, when Zhao Yun and others wanted to massacre all foreigners against Lu Feng, flatten the Japanese islands and even the distant Roman Empire, and make these places Han territory, although they followed Lu Feng's orders, they did not do so. Don't understand. Until he came to the world of Sui and Tang dynasties, Lu Feng's Hidian saw the future, not only the future of the current Sui and Tang dynasty world, but also the more distant future. He said that after 1,600 years, the descendants of the Roman Empire used gunpowder and other weapons of mass destruction to break through the borders of China, burn, kill, loot and occupy the territory of China. In the past few decades, the Japanese people on the Japanese island launched a more than 10-year invasion of China in order to occupy China's territory, killing countless Han people. Only then did Zhao Yun and others understand why Lu Feng hated the foreigners so much and was determined to massacre them all. So when Zhao Yun had a good impression of Yang Lin and heard that Yang Lin, the patron king of the Sui dynasty, was still wondering about his identity before his death, he did not hide it. He dismounted and leaned over, and said in Yang Lin's ear, "I am under the command of the Dragon Emperor, former General Zhao Yun, Zhao Zilong, from the Shenlong Empire." After hearing Zhao Yun's words, Yang Lin widened his eyes, chuckled, and then said, "Sure enough, as expected, just those 16 rebels cannot defeat me." After saying this, Yang Lin lost his breath and died on the spot. The 16 anti-kings who were watching from a distance did not expect that their arrogant patron King Yang Lin would be killed just as he was speaking. From the moment when Yang Lin and Ding Yanping massacred everyone in the anti-king coalition, to when they were killed by the unknown white-robed general, it only took a moment, and even Li Shimin didn't react. After Zhao Yun killed Yang Lin, he didn't stop for a moment. When no one could react, he rode away on the white dragon horse. To read the ununderlined version of the novel, please download Fei Lu Xiao. 3 Kingdoms, I Have a Job Transfer Palace. Author, Strong Wine Burns the Heart. Chapter 424. Everyone looked at the white-robed general's retreating figure and couldn't help but be stunned. From his appearance to his departure, in addition to beheading the patron King Yang Lin and the double-gun veteran Ding Yanping, apart from killing, he had no communication with anyone at all. Except for the dead patron King Yang Lin, no one knew his identity. He was like a mystery, as if he appeared to help the coalition get rid of Yang Lin and Ding Yanping, who they could not defeat. If Lu Feng had been present, he would have greatly praised Zhao Yun's performance and composed another poem on the spot: "Kill one person in 10 steps, leave no trace for 1,000 miles, dust off your clothes when the matter is over, and hide your body and fame." Perhaps only Li Teibei's Xiake scene can best describe Zhao Yun's series of actions. It happened to be the end of the Sui dynasty and Li Bai had not yet been born, so Lu Feng could justifiably learn from it. Facing such a mysterious master, not only were the 16th root anti-kings stunned, but even Li Shimin forgot his purpose of coming here for a while. And Li Ziyuning saw that Zhao Yun was outstanding in martial arts, tall and handsome, and was so attracted by this mysterious man that he forgot to think. Only Li Yuanba stood aside and said with a silly smile, "This man's shooting skills are good. He seemed to have killed 2 people just now without using all his strength, but he is not Yuanba's opponent." Li Yuanba's words made Li Shimin, who was still in shock, wake up instantly. He came over and saw the white-robed military general rushing towards the anti-Qing coalition forces, and hurriedly said to Li Yuanba, go and catch that man back. Li Yuanba was here watching others, and he could only watch here. My heart was itching all the time, and I wanted to rush over and have a fight with everyone. It's just that Li Shimin was beside him, and neither his parents nor his second brother would allow him to fight with others, so he had to stand here aggrievedly. At this time, the second brother allowed him to pass, which happened to be in line with his wishes. He immediately cheered, brandished the pair of 800 kilograms of drums, urns, and golden hammers, and rode towards the white-robed general on a horse. Wan Liun is a top-notch war horse, capable of traveling 10,000 a day and 8,000 at night. At this time, Li Yuanba pursued with all his strength and rushed into the anti-Qing coalition in an instant. When Li Yuanba saw the white-robed general whom his second brother had asked him to catch, he ran into the crowd, and there were countless people between him and him. He shouted anxiously, "Guy in white, don't run away, I'm here to catch you." Zhao Yun heard this childish cry from a distance, and couldn't help but look back and found that the person calling him was Li Yuanba, who looked about 12 or 13 years old and was holding a pair of hammers, so he couldn't help but agree and continue to ride back. Before Zhao Yun came, Lu Feng had repeatedly emphasized that just kill Yang Lin and Ding Yanping, and never fight Li Yuanba. Lu Feng was worried that Zhao Yun did not know Li Yuanba and that he had recognized the wrong person. He also told him that Li Yuanba was 12 or 13 years old, with a sickly face, skinny as a stick, and holding a pair of sledgehammers. Later, Lu Feng remembered that in the world today, besides Li Yuanba, there was also Pei Yuanqing, who was superior to Zhao Yun in martial arts. He was worried that Pei Yuanqing would also appear on the battlefield and have a conflict with Zhao Yun, so he told Zhao Yun not to fight anyone who used a sledgehammer as a weapon. Feeler reminds you, 3 things about reading, collecting and recommending. 3 Kingdoms, I Have a Job Transfer Palace. Author, Strong Wine Burns the Heart. Chapter 425. Because Zhao Yun has a certain understanding of the world, until Pei Yuanqing and Yuan Chengdu are both half-step Wuji generals, and Li Yuanba has become a Wuji general. Neither of them were opponents, so he firmly remembered Lu Feng's words, and quickly rode his horse back with the help of the anti-Qing coalition soldiers' cover. In the blink of an eye, Zhao Yun had already galloped into the crowd of coalition forces. Although the soldiers of the anti-Qing coalition forces did not know Zhao Yun, they all knew that this man rushed over and killed their invincible backer Wang Yanglin and Zhuang Qiang. Veteran General Ding Yanping. Since it can help him kill the enemy, it at least means that this person is definitely not an enemy, and he rushed out of his own camp, and now he is running towards his own camp, thinking that he must be one of his own. And this child who rushed from the enemy army looked to be only 12 or 13 years old. He was holding a pair of big hammers in his hands, and he actually threatened to capture the white general who couldn't even defeat Yang Lin and Ding Yanping. Live, this made them feel funny. Moreover, they believed that a child of this age must not be an enemy general. He could not be the son of a Sui official. He came to watch the battle, but was shocked by the white-robed general just now and now ran out to have fun. Therefore, and he was able to move in and out of the enemy army so freely, he must be the child of a high-ranking official. If he could be captured, he would definitely be able to threaten the Sui dynasty, which would be considered a great achievement. Thinking of this, the soldiers of the alliance army rushed forward desperately. Even if the opponent was just a child, they rushed forward without any grace. After all, in their eyes, those who deserve credit are the ones who deserve the credit, and now these people are vying for credit. Although they are all in the same camp, they don't know each other, but they are still enemies. Thinking of this, they rushed towards the child who looked as thin as a ghost without any humility. Li Yuanba was focused on the task assigned to him by his second brother, and wanted to catch the white-robed general quickly, but he did not expect that these people in front of him would block his way. So he became furious in an instant and swung 2 sledgehammers at the first person who rushed over. The general saw that the child was only 12 or 13 years old and very thin, so he thought he didn't have much strength. The hammer looked scary, but it must be a very light imitation. So when faced with the hammer, he didn't care, and didn't even block it. He swung his long knife directly at the sledgehammer, hoping to cut the hammer in half with one blow and capture the kid. However, as soon as the weapons of both sides touched each other, he felt a weight like a big mountain pressing down on him. Then the long knife in his hand shattered. The next second he saw the sledgehammer coming to his face, and then something no one knows anymore. Li Yuanba smashed away the first general who came over with one hammer, and then swung his hammers in a circle, sending all the surrounding alliance soldiers flying away. When the soldiers in the rear who had not rushed to Li Yuanba saw this scene, they all stopped involuntarily. They didn't expect that this child, who looked as thin as a sick ghost, could actually knock away more than a dozen people with one blow. Moreover, the parts of those who flew out were turned into a ball of flesh, and not a single body was intact. To read the ununderlined version of the novel, please download Fei Lu Xiao. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. 3 Kingdoms, I Have a Job Transfer Palace. Author, Strong Wine Burns the Heart. Chapter 426. The first batch of 20 or so people who rushed towards Li Yuanba were all beaten to pulp by him in just a few breaths, especially his last blow, when he raised his hammers and struck 10 several people all flew out towards Sizhu. Even Yuan Chengdu could not achieve such power. The remaining alliance soldiers behind saw that this 12 or 13-year-old boy was so powerful, and then they realized that he might indeed be the son of a certain Sui official, but it was not something they could easily catch. At that moment, everyone could see that this boy was definitely more terrifying than the backer King Yang Lin and the double-gun veteran Ding Yanping. So people had no choice but to place their hopes of defeating him on the white-robed general who had just killed Yang Lin and Ding Yanping while talking and laughing. Perhaps only he could kill this monster. However, Zhao Yun had already quietly left the moment these alliance soldiers rushed to resist Li Yuanba. The rebel kings from all walks of life searched around the battlefield for the white-robed general, but found no trace of him. They couldn't find that person, and everyone even thought that the white-robed general who descended from heaven had never appeared. If it weren't for the fact that the backing kings Yang Lin and Ding Yanping were indeed dead and their bodies were still there, they would have thought that all this was happening. It's all an illusion. On one side is the white-robed general who has disappeared, and on the other side is the monster boy who is killing everyone. Which one is more serious and which one is more serious can be known at a glance by the 16th root rebel king. So in desperation, the 16th root rebel king had to give up looking for the white-robed general, and issued an order for the entire army to attack Li Yuanba, hoping to use the human sea tactic to consume the monster boy to death. As the orders of the various rebels were issued, 2 million troops rushed toward Li Yuanba like a tsunami. Regardless of their combat effectiveness, this momentum was enough to chill most of them who had been on the battlefield. However, what they faced was Li Yuanba, the second Wuji general since then, and he was still a stupid boy who didn't know how to be afraid. At first, he returned his second brother's order and wanted to catch the general in white clothes, but as everyone surrounded him, the white-robed general disappeared. It happened that although Li Yuanba was 12 or 13 years old at this time, his intelligence was only at the level of a 2 or 3-year-old. When these people stopped him, he instantly forgot about catching the white-robed general. And after knocking away more than a dozen people in a row, he was instantly surrounded by the joyful feeling of fighting with others. As a Wuji warrior, despite his lack of intelligence, killing through combat has become an instinct. When he was at home, Li Yuanba's parents and Li Shimin had forbidden him from fighting because he was too strong and his attacks were not serious, so he had been struggling to restrain himself. At this time, with the permission of his second brother, he knocked away more than a dozen people in a row, which instantly aroused the mania in Li Yuanba's bones. Facing an army of 2 million, he could finally kill enough. However, he was not worried about himself, but Li Shimin was frightened when he saw the endless soldiers rushing towards Li Yuanba and surrounding him. He is not a bloodthirsty killing god like Li Yuanba. Although he has led many wars with his father, he has a profound understanding of war. Filu reminds you, 3 things about reading, collecting and recommending. 3 Kingdoms, I Have a Job Transfer Palace. Author, Strong Wine Burns the Heart. Chapter 427. So when he saw this massive army of 2 million, he naturally knew what it meant. Although he knew that Li Yuanba was as powerful as a monster, he still couldn't help but worry that he was wrong. After all, he was his biological brother, and he only listened to himself. The relationship between the two of them was stronger than that between him and his eldest brother and third brother. Affectionate. On the other hand, he also knew that once his younger brother started to kill, most people would never be able to control him. And the benefactor of the Li family, Qin Qian, was still in the enemy camp. If Li Yuanba disowned his relatives and killed his benefactor with a hammer, wouldn't the Li family be all ungrateful people? These 2 contradictory but reasonable worries filled Li Shimin's heart, so he quickly handed over the 20,000 Li family troops he brought to the command of his sister Li Ziyuning, while he gathered the army of the patron king and attacked Li Yuanba. Although Li Ziyuning was born as a girl, she grew up in an environment like the Li family. Her 3 brothers were all good at leading troops in war, and her younger brother was brave enough to fight. He has been exposed to it since he was a child, and he also has great experience in uniting troops to fight. He led 20,000 Li family troops to kill the rebel army, which was also heroic. Li Shimin had a clear mind and knew that their purpose of coming here was to support the patron king and Ding Yanping. However, since we came late and saw the death of the patron king and Ding Yanping with our own eyes, there was no point in staying here for a long time. Instead, we should control the crazy Li Yuanba as soon as possible and bring the patron king's army back to Wei County with him. After all, the patron king died, but his troops were still an important force in helping the Sui dynasty resist the 16th anti-king coalition. However, when the anti-king coalition forces saw a year-old general emerging from the enemy army, they gathered the remnants of the patron king's troops and rushed towards the monster boy, thinking they were here to support Li Yuanba. It is already difficult for them to fight against a monster boy. If this young general brings Yang Lin's hundreds of thousands of troops to support them, I am afraid that their 2 million troops will suffer heavy losses. So the 2 million strong army divided into 2 units, including Li Shimin and Li Ziyuning, and the remaining 1.8 million people surrounded Li Yuanba, hoping to kill the monster boy on the spot. However, even though Li Yuanba was surrounded by enemy troops, he was not afraid. 2 drums, urns, and golden hammers each weighing 400 kilograms were as light as feathers in his hands. Every swing would take away the lives of a dozen people, and he didn't mind the sticky blood splattering on his body. Even when blood splashed on his face, he would stick out his tongue to lick the smelly blood into his mouth, and then show a satisfied smile. However, this smile was extremely penetrating in the eyes of the Alliance Army officers. They felt that they were definitely not facing a 12 or 13-year-old boy, but a murderous demon without blinking an eye. Every time a soldier whose head was shot by him fell to the ground, the white brains and red blood were both terrifying and disgusting in their eyes, but the demon boy was happy with it. Li Yuanba just kept charging and killing among the millions of troops, no one could stop him, leaving countless corpses along the way, and he also rushed to the Weigong army's camp unknowingly. Qin Qian had no choice but to fight forward with all the heroes from Weigong village. To read the ununderlined version of the novel, please download Fei Lu Xiao. 3 Kingdoms, I Have a Job Transfer Palace. Author, Strong Wine Burns the Heart. Chapter 428. In such a short time, Li Yuanba killed nearly 10,000 anti-Qing coalition forces, especially when he swung the pair of big hammers, which was enough to smash a large area away. This kind of killing speed could not be matched by other people, let alone one person, even 10 people. 10,000 pigs stand there motionless for you to kill. It will take a long time to kill them, and they will be so tired that they can't even lift their hands. What's more, the ones Li Yuanba killed were all living people who were still resisting. What's even more frightening is that he was completely tireless, killing more than 10,000 people without changing his face or breathing, without a trace of fatigue, as if he had endless strength. This kind of killing speed and efficiency is simply faster than cutting wheat. When Li Mi saw this demon boy coming towards him, he was so frightened that he couldn't control it. He shouted at the Weigong army, set an arrow. Shoot this monster to death. After Li Mi shouted, the other rebel kings, he also realized that since the demon boy couldn't stop him in close combat, why not use a bow and arrow to pierce his heart with thousands of arrows? After thinking about this, the other rebel kings also issued orders to release arrows at the same time. At the same time, the soldiers surrounding Li Yuanba also quickly withdrew. Li Yuanba was in the mood to kill when suddenly everyone around him ran away. This made him puzzled and he looked around with his big eyes. He was about to chase after him, but suddenly he felt a darkness on his head. When he looked up, he found that the sky was full of arrows flying over like locusts crossing the border. However, Li Yuanba was not afraid and shouted to the troops in front, "You guys are fooling around. If you can't beat Yuanba, just shoot with arrows. Don't think that Yuanba will be afraid of this small trick." After Li Yuanba finished speaking, he raised a pair of golden hammers in his hands. It rose up and swung rapidly like a top, getting faster and faster. Immediately afterwards, a scene appeared that made everyone stunned. As the demon boy continued to swing the sledgehammer in his hand, the sledgehammer actually brought up a strong and visible airflow around him. Immediately afterwards, arrows like locusts shot at Li Yuanba intensively, but because the airflow was too strong, they actually deflected the arrows and landed beside him. Even those that could not be deflected were all smashed open by Li Yuanba's sledgehammer, or simply smashed into pieces. Those arrows that were blown away by the airflow and blown into pieces were not bad. After all, the wind was not strong, and it only slightly changed the direction of the arrows and shot to Li Yuanba's side. However, many of the arrows that he hammered away directly became his hidden murder weapons. The alliance soldiers around him suffered a disaster. Before long, more than 100 people were shot and fell to the ground. What's even more frightening is that because of Li Yuanba's terrifying power, the arrow flew out even faster than the original bow and arrow shot at him, leaving the rebel soldiers with no time to resist or hide. Less than half an hour later, all the bows and arrows of the anti-Qing coalition were fired, but Li Yuanba was not injured at all except that the ground where he was standing was surrounded by bows and arrows. On the contrary, nearly 1,000 of the anti-Qing coalition soldiers who were closer to him fell to the ground and could not get up again. Li Yuanba's performance made the rebel kings more and more frightened. After all, the hundreds of thousands of troops he had trained so hard had used various tricks, but they still couldn't defeat a child. To read the ununderlined version of the novel, please download Fei Lu Xiao. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Three Kingdoms, I Have a Job Transfer Palace. Author, Strong Wine Burns the Heart. Chapter 429. Such monsters and demons should not exist in this world in the first place. Whose family were they born in and how were they trained? However, Li Yuanba didn't care about the mood of the rebel king. He asked with regret, "Why don't you continue? Yuanba hasn't had enough fun yet. Can we do it again?" The 16th Root rebel king and 100 of their men, after hearing Li Yuanba's words, the tens of thousands of troops, were shocked and angry. What surprised him was that this monster was unharmed in such a dense rain of arrows, but killed nearly 1,000 people. What made him angry was that he got an advantage and still behaved, and even asked to continue. And looking at his clear eyes and innocent smile, everyone finally realized that this demon boy was not joking, he seemed to be really stupid. But it doesn't matter if he is really stupid or fake, he can't beat him anyway. At this time, Li Yuanba saw that the opponent no longer fired arrows, and he was very bored standing so far away, so he shouted to the rebel king coalition, "If you don't shoot arrows, Yuanba will rush over." After he finished speaking, he saw no one responded to him, and he felt a burst of anger. He pouted his mouth and charged into the army with 2 war hammers. Seeing the demon boy once again charging towards him with his war hammer that had claimed countless lives, all the anti-king coalition soldiers once again fell into panic. The timid ones kept retreating and shivering, while the bold ones looked at the evil boy who had killed countless of his comrades, filled with rage in their hearts, roaring and rushing forward to seek revenge for the souls he had hammered down. Qin Kaiyan, Xian, Wang Bodang, and others, who had just temporarily stopped attacking because Li Mi ordered to release arrows, now saw that Li Yuanba was still charging unstoppably towards the Weigong army, and finally had to take action again. Li Yuanba was happily killing when he suddenly felt his heart skip a beat. He lowered his head suddenly and saw a hidden arrow flying over his head. He then looked up and saw several generals coming toward him. Then a wooden axe hit him head on. Li Yuanba didn't have time to swing the hammer, so he pushed it out with the palm of his hand, pushing the man holding the axe more than 10 feet away. Immediately afterwards, another person came at him with 2 gold maces, but Li Yuanba, who had completely stood up at this time, did not panic, raised the drum, urn, and golden hammer to easily block the person's blow, and knocked the person back. He was so shocked that he took 5 or 6 steps back. However, although the man retreated, Li Yuanba took advantage of him and rushed to the man in an instant, hitting him with the hammer. The general didn't expect that the monster boy was so powerful and fast. Seeing that the opponent's sledgehammer was about to hit his head, he was suddenly shocked. At this time, the general with an axe who had just been pushed far away by Li Yuanba had just gotten up from the ground. He happened to see Li Yuanba and couldn't help shouting, "Uncle Bao, get out of the way." This man holding the person with the trump card was Qin Kaiyan and Qin Shibao. Although he heard Chen Yaojin's cry, the young man was too fast and had no time to dodge. However, he also knew that if he hit it hard this time, he might be like the many soldiers who had died under this young man's hammer, with their heads shattered and their bodies left intact, so he tried his best to block it with his golden mace. Even so, he knew that he was no match for this young man in terms of strength. Was he going to die now? Feeler reminds you, 3 things about reading, collecting and recommending. 3 Kingdoms, I Have a Job Transfer Palace. Author, Strong Wine Burns the Heart. Chapter 430. Just as Qin Shibao raised his mace to block and closed his eyes to wait for death, he suddenly heard an exclamation in his ears, "My benefactor? Is it really you, my benefactor?" Qin Shibao didn't know who was talking at first, but he thought it had nothing to do with him anyway. At the same time, he knew that he would die soon, so he didn't open his eyes to look. At this moment, the huge wind and waves caused by the monster boy's sledgehammer had already blown into Qin Shibao's face. He knew that the next moment the sledgehammer would fall on his head, and then he would be with the world. Say goodbye. But what he didn't expect was that after waiting for a long time, the young man's sledgehammer did not fall as he imagined. At the same time, the voice just now sounded again, "My dear, why don't you open your eyes and look at Unba? Is it because just now Yuanba swung a hammer to you, did it make you angry? Yuanba knows that he was wrong, and he will never do it again. Please say something to Yuanba." Only then did Qin Shibao realize that the person who spoke it was that monster boy, and according to his words, he seemed to regard himself as his benefactor. Although he didn't know what was going on, Qin Shibao knew that his life was temporarily saved, so he opened his eyes and looked at this young man. When Li Yuanba saw Qin Shibao opening his eyes and looking at him after listening to his words, he immediately started dancing with joy. At the same time, he also thought with some fear that fortunately he had not hit his benefactor with the hammer just now, otherwise his benefactor would have been really angry and would have ignored him. At this time, with Li Yuanba's intelligence, he still did not stop. Qin Shibao must have been angry after being hit, but he had no idea that if he had really hit him, Qin Shibao would have been dead. In fact, Li Yuanba was extremely angry because someone secretly shot an arrow at him when he was a child, and Qin Shibao happened to be coming from the direction where the arrow came from. Although Li Yuanba saw that Uncle Qin did not have a bow and arrow and knew that he was not the one who shot him, he came from that direction and must have been with the person who shot him, so he wanted to kill him. But when Qin Shibao raised his head to block with his golden mace, his face fell right into the eyes of Li Yuanba, who jumped up. Although Li Yuanba was just born and less than 1 year old when Qin Shibao rescued Li Yuan's family, it stands to reason that he could not remember Qin Shibao's appearance at all. But maybe it was fate, maybe it was because he saved Li Yuanba, but Qin Shibao's face was imprinted in Li Yuanba's mind. Even when he cried when he was a child, his parents and brothers could not coax him back. All he had to do was show him a portrait of Qin Shibao, and he would immediately break down in tears and laugh. It's just that after Li Yuanba grew up, he never saw Qin Shibao again, but his appearance was always remembered in Li Yuanba's heart. Therefore, when Li Yuanba saw that the face in front of him was his benefactor, he quickly stopped the warhammer in his hand and asked aloud. At first, Qin Shibao closed his eyes tightly, and Li Yuanba was still a little unsure, but when Qin Kayang's eyes looked at Li Yuanba, and Li Yuanba saw the clear eyes, he knew instantly that the man in front of him was his benefactor. So Li Yuanba jumped off his horse happily and circled around Qin Shibao. To read the ununderlined version of the novel, please download Fei Lu Xiao.